In this video, notice how out of place the people are. Notice how confusing it must have been for them, in their horse and buggy, as see these incredible buildings left behind. The controllers lied in whatever ways they did in order to not speak the truth. I have been and will continue to do the opposite. I will continuing exposing the lies and reveal the truth. It's for your own benefit. Ignorance is not bliss, not in this case. Your ignorance will cause you to believe things you would never believe if you knew all the facts.
Now here's my favorite designations. The post offices. You know, how many stamps did you sell to build yourself a post office like this? Absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, I think we all knew. We really all did know. But I think we needed permission in some way to believe it. Again, how many stamps would they have to sell to build a building like this? You know, the post office has always struggled. You know, here they were still delivering mail on horses. And, you know, the price of a stamp was, I don't know. You could probably get a few for a penny back then. And just amazing that in 1905, which again, when would you... Again, we have to be perfectly logical here. It's 1905, and how old could this building be? How young could this building be? You know, at the youngest, this building is 100 years old.
May I remind you, once again, that this is the horse and buggy generation. The ones who haven't even invented cars yet, but somehow history tells us that they created these buildings. Actually, Satan's trick is for history to tell us that they founded the buildings.
And I think it would be very easy to recreate these photos. Taking pictures of old buildings with old cameras, staging them with props and people, and I have no doubt one could portray whatever story they would want to.
And it really made no sense. Why would so many people be arriving after a catastrophe? Unless that was the plan all along. And perhaps we'll get into that. And just amazing.
I couldn't forget to include this image. Look at all these misplaced people. I remember seeing photos in New York, Coney Island. At the beach, in the water, no towel in sight. I bet they were told to smile for the photo, thinking it would say something positive about them. Nope, it just helps people like me to expose their lies even more. Back to the world's fairs we go. Back to where the people were indoctrinated with lies. I can't imagine how much propaganda they were probably exposed to. Some of these buildings were actually insane asylums where they held people who questioned their lies. There's nothing Satan hates more than the truth. For those of you that made it this far, this is for you. Just look at this insanity. Again, history says those beautiful buildings in the back were designed by the same people who designed those tents. I'm assuming that we're all in agreement at this point. Though you should have been on board with what I was saying much earlier. Better late than never, I guess.
And as usual, the roads will have to stay muddy in this exhibition. Certainly going over budget, some bricks in the road. Just the thing to keep these fairgoers excited.
And this is the new station. Just like the concrete and brick load of crap. So this is the old Holborn pneumatic railway station, and it's the far left building with the arches. And this is the new station. Just like the concrete and brick load of crap.
In the late 1800s and early 1900s, there were an abundance of babies. They were either stored and/or created in these incubators. They would come in from somewhere else in the country to be waiting for a new set of parents to adopt them. There were a lot more babies than you think, living in these circumstances. These incubators were shown at world fairs. It's almost like it was free advertising for their services. Like I mentioned earlier about the misplaced people, the people who attended these world fairs probably had no idea what was going on. They must have been so brainwashed to believe whatever their controllers wanted them to believe. So, when the people came across these incubators, which could include babies being created in them, it probably didn't even surprise the people. Who knows how confused they must have been. But not as confused as the babies would have been as they grew up.
Early 1900s, my dad was an incubator baby in Coney Island. He was on display. They had just invented the incubator. He was.
You could literally tell me anything, I'd believe.
No, it's true.
Surely you must be asking, but why? Why sell so many babies? The answer is unfortunate but true. One of the reasons for the abundance of babies that needed to be sold was for the purpose of child labor. Forced child labor, which is slave labor. These babies didn't seem to have much of a choice. Think of from the perspective of the evil people in high positions of power. They wouldn't exactly want these babies dying prematurely, or dying when they're young, or even dying at work. Who else would make money for these factory owners? They didn't exactly create the best living situation either to allow these kids to prosper in life. For the earliest years of their lives, it must have been difficult. But I'm sure it was so bad as they got older. The evil people in charge, though, they don't seem to have any shame. They also don't seem to have learned from their evil ways by promoting what happened as it was a good idea. Look at what this says. Saved by science, twins displayed in incubators at Chicago's Second World's Fair are now 84 and nestled happily in the suburbs. I've mentioned a few times now about the propaganda that the people probably witnessed at the World's Fairs they attended. Here's some. Don't forget about how desperate these people were to sell all these babies. They obviously got quite creative in their images.
early 1900s. My dad was an incubator babying.
And